Thank you guys so much for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce our panel today. Comic book creators John Romita Jr. and Mark Millar. Cast member and kick-ass himself, Aaron Johnson. Director Matthew Vaughn and actress Chloe Moretz, who plays Hit Girl, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who plays Red Mist. So thank you so much for coming, and who's got the first question? Okay, go ahead.
Matthew, just out of curiosity, I mean, how hard or how daunting was the process of getting this thing going? You know, from the initial, figuring out that you wanted to do it, and then actually getting everybody, kind of on board and behind it to get the momentum going. I mean, I know comic book movies aren't always the easiest movies to make. So.
Well, it was pretty difficult in the sense that every studio said no to it. So we went and raised the money independently, and but we raised. I was lucky enough to raise the money. It took about a week. So, but that's kind of track record with these financiers. So they were on board. We just did it.
Was there ever any danger of them trying to, keep it like PG-13 or make it?
What, the investors?
Anybody? Yeah.
No, the investors, no, they were cool. They just said do whatever you. They believed the fact that Hollywood didn't like it. That was a chance it could be a good film. So they were incredibly. I mean, I raised the money just before the recession hit, so this was like a hobby for these guys, and then it turned out to be the best investment because everything else they had tanked.
How emboldened were you after the Comic-Con preview last year? Because, I mean, with the possible exception of Avatar, I don't think anything came away with sort of greater anticipation.
Yeah, it was a scary time, and we hadn't shown anything to anyone. We were very much the underdogs, and to go on after Avatar was like suicide. But it played great, and we all believed in the movie. I mean, when we made Logs, the first thing I did was Logs, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. We had exactly the same journey. To say that we couldn't get the finance it, we made the film, we did the distribution, and it was finished. Luckily, we didn't have that problem in this film, but we believed in it. We knew we made something special. He just on the every day of filming was sort of unique, and I think we all would. All the people on this table are, we had nothing. We had, there was no ulterior motive apart from making a good film. So, and no one was stopping us. No one was interfering. And, more movies should be made like that. A lot of the films that we all have to watch, and sadly are pretty crap, would probably be much better if the filmmakers allowed us to get on to it.
Did you have a cut assembled at that point, like a full cut, or was it?
Yeah, we screened the cut 2 days later and then got distribution.
Well, there are a lot of great references to things most people are familiar with in comic book movies, like no power comes no responsibility, the Wolverine, the Claws.
Right.
What was your sort of point of view with those specific homages and not going too far overboard?
That was my point of view. Exactly to do that was to he just Moretz says yes, you're correct. No, we just it was a love letter to it sounds sounding pretentious that he's saying the word postmodern, but it was just trying to sort of. Mark started it with a comment and just wanted to take it further.
It's the sort of thing, it couldn't have been made as a movie, I think even 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, but the world is very geek literate now. Like, if you mention Wolverine now, everybody knows who you're talking about. Like, everybody's girlfriend knows who you're talking about as well. It's like everybody now understands everything that we spent all our lives training for, which is great.
That's not the 3D poster, is it?
No.
It looks 3D, but that's pretty good.
That's cool.
Oh, that's good.
It's a cool one. Is it the same?
Cooler one than which one?
I don't know. It just looks like brighter.
It's being better lit.
Maybe. Who knows?
Sorry.
Mark, and you and John talked about the process of sort of adapting your own material and knowing that it would have to be massaged a little bit going between the page and the screen.
Yeah, I mean, as adaptations go, I mean, this is probably the most literal one I've seen outside of maybe 300,
Watchmen.
Yeah, Watchmen, yeah. But where it had to be changed, we were cool with it. I mean, it's just a case of trusting the team that's developing it. And luckily we all knew each other quite well, and as time went on, got to know each other more, and just knew it was in good hands, so we were quite relaxed. And if anything was being changed, it was discussed and for a good reason. But generally, I mean, compared to the Bourne books, to the Bourne movies or whatever, you know, maybe much more literal. I'd say probably 90% of the movies, you know, what we wanted.
If I hadn't been encouraged to continue doing what I was doing, I would have been terribly intimidated and concerned. But Matthew and Mark imparted upon me that it was going to be close to the comic, and they wanted to see what I was doing as opposed to doing differently. And it gave me a comfort zone, and I relaxed and continued to do what I could do. And I got flattered beyond belief at the same time.
It seems like each of the action sequences has a different personality. Talk about what you wanted to convey.
How many times have you seen the film? How many times have you seen it? Wow. Yeah, you seem better than me, but you're correct. I think action has been shot. So I mean, dare I say it, I think most modern action movies become really dull and boring in the way that when I'm watching it on DVD, I start fast forwarding action scenes before I used to fast forward dialogue scenes. So and I think it's because the style of quick editing, shaking the camera around, trying to put fake energy into an action scene was boring, and also there's no narrative. So I decided I wanted to do action in which you knew what was going on. You set up geography, you set up characters so you related to what was happening, cared about whether someone won or lost. And then, more importantly, I wanted to make each action scene unique, because I think it gets a bit boring. It's just because you know, when Aaron had a different fighting style to Chloe, to wanting her to be like a video game one time, making it more Hong Kong style in the corridor sequence, or when shooting Nick Cage doing it all in one take. I just thought, let's just try and make each action scene get better and more interesting.
John?
Who was involved with the fight choreography? As far as, did you have a fight choreographer or?
I kind of showed people the ropes really, and that's what give them a bit of a tussle. Then we improvised.
We had a second unit director called Tim Jones, who he was the DP on Snatch, and we worked together on about 3 or 4 films and some commercials. And so I needed some kind of work with a lot of second unit directors, and to be frank, they're sort of pretty useless in the sense that they know how to blow things up, but it's just boring, and they don't seem to care if it fits into the movie or not, and they all want to be directors. And so, if you're the second unit director, do as you're told, don't just try and do something that's, not the director's vision of sounding like a total megomaniac, but it's true. And then we had a fight coordinator called Brad Allen, who helped. He was, a really clever fight guy, and another guy, somebody else. I can't remember their names, but they're all Brad Allen. And
he's a part of the Jackie Chan stunt crew, and then you had Jet Li's stunt.
No, Jackie Chan's not correct.
Did you have a stunt? Didn't you have a stunt double? It was one of Jet Li's guys out in Toronto, and you had the guys who worked on 300 and Hellboy, and then there was a whole national gymnast team that did parkour.
There's a lot of them. And then we had Steve Dent as well, came aboard for your stuff. So there's a lot of people.
I noticed some gun kata, it looked like.
Some what?
Gun kata.
I'm going to say it one more time, maybe I'll get it.
Gun kata.
Gun?
Oh, right, the
Gun
Reference
kata
to a movie
from
called
Equilibrium. I don't know if you've seen that
That's
film.
Christian Bale. That's what he's doing gun food. He's fighting with guns.
No.
And how involved was Chloe? 'Cause it seemed like a lot of the gunfight scenes involved her, mostly.
Yeah.
How involved was she with that
I'd
whole
say it was
process?
like 85%.
Yeah, I basically did, almost everything except for running up walls and doing insane back handsprings in the middle of the air. Basically all the shooting and knives and swords and stuff was me.